Is today's housing market like a bubble ready to pop? Home ownership has become a major element in achieving the American dream. A recent report from the National Association of Realtors finds that over 86% of buyers agree home ownership is still the American dream. And the amazing thing is, prior to 1950, less than half of the country owned their own home. However, after World War II, many returning veterans used the benefits afforded by the GI Bill to purchase a home. Since then, the percentage of homeowners throughout the country has increased to the current rate of 65.5%. That strong desire for home ownership has kept home values appreciating ever since. Here are the historical figures of home price appreciation since World War II. The graph shows the only time home values dropped significantly was during the housing boom and bust of 2006 through 2008. If you look at how prices spiked prior to 2006, it looks a bit like the current spike in prices over the past 2 years. That may lead some people to be concerned we're about to see a similar fall in home values as we did when the bubble burst. To help alleviate those worries, let's take a look at what happened the last time and what's happening now. What caused the housing crash 15 years ago? So back in 2006, foreclosures flooded the market. That drove down home values dramatically. The two main reasons for the flood of foreclosure were many purchasers were not truly qualified for the mortgage they obtained, which led to more homes turning into foreclosures. A number of homeowners cashed in the equity on their homes. When prices dropped, they found themselves in an underwater situation where the home was worth less than the mortgage on the house. Many of the homeowners walked away from their homes, leading to more foreclosures. This, in turn, lowered neighboring home values even more. And unfortunately, the cycle continued for many more years. So why is today's real estate market different? Well, there are two main reasons why today's real estate market is way different than what happened 15 years ago. Today, demand for home ownership is real, not artificially generated. Running up to 2006, banks were creating artificial demand by lowering lending standards and making it very easy for just about anyone to qualify for a home loan or refinance in their current home. Back then, when I was a loan officer, I remember programs like the Nina and the Ninja. The Nina was no income, no assets, and the Ninja was no income, no assets, no job. But today, those purchasing homes and those refinancing face much stricter guidelines from lenders. Data from the Urban Institute shows the amount of risk banks were willing to take on then as compared to now. There's always risk when a bank loans money. However, leading up to the housing crash 15 years ago, lending institutions took on as much greater risk in both the person and in the mortgage product offered. That led to mass defaults, foreclosures, and falling prices. Today, the demand for homeownership is real. Additionally, lending standards are much stricter in the current lending environment. Purchasers can't afford the mortgage they're taking on, so there's little concern about possible default. And if you're worried about the number of people still in forbearance, you should know that the risk of that causing an upheaval in the housing market today is very, very small. So let me highlight this for you. There won't be a flood of foreclosures anytime soon. People are not using their homes as ATMs like they did in the early 2000s. As mentioned before, when prices were rapidly escalating in the early 2000s, many people thought it would never end. They started to borrow against the equity in their homes to finance new cars, boats, and vacations. When prices started to fall, many of these homeowners were underwater, leading some to abandon their homes altogether. This increased the number of foreclosures. Thankfully, homeowners didn't forget the lessons of the crash as prices skyrocketed over the last few years. Black Knight reports that tappable equity, that's the amount of equity available for homeowners to access before hitting the maximum of 80% loan to value, has more than doubled compared to 2006. Back then, 4.6 trillion was available, and now current homeowners have a total of 9.9 trillion in available equity. The latest Homeowner Equity Insights report from CoreLogic reveals that the average homeowner gained $55,300 in home equity over the past year alone. Odetta Cushy, Deputy Chief Economist at First American, reports homeowners in Q4 2021 had an average of $307,000 in equity, a historic high. And Adam Data Services also reveals that 41.9% of all mortgage homes have at least 50% in equity. So you see, these homeowners will not face an underwater situation even if prices dip slightly. Today's homeowners are much more cautious. So what's the bottom line? The major reason for the housing crash 15 years ago was a tsunami of foreclosures. With much stricter mortgage standards and a historic level of homeowner equity, the fear of foreclosures for today's market is almost non-existent. I'm Joe Rivas, your Loan Guy Joe. Let's connect today to answer your questions about the housing market and how to get you pre-approved for your own home buying journey. I'll catch you guys on the next video.